Okay, we are going to construct an equilateral triangle. This is actually the first construction from Euclid's Elements, the very first one. So this is a very famous way of constructing an equilateral triangle. If I select some segment and I want to call that AB, I'll use the label tool to create those labels. I'll select both points and hit Control L to create that line segment. What I want to do now is draw two circles, or construct two circles, one with a center at A and a radius point at B, the other with a center at B and a radius point at A. What I know now is that this point of intersection, or I could actually use this one instead if I'd rather, but this point of intersection of those two circles, and I'll know I'm at that intersection point because Sketchpad will glow both circles red, but that point where these meet, and I'll call that point C, that has to have the same length as AB because it is also a radius of this circle. And also for the same reason BC must have the same length as AB because it's a radius of this circle. So if I can hide both circles now if I want to. Right click and choose hide circle, and right click and choose hide circle. If I now construct segments AC and segment BC, I think I can show you that I now have a equilateral triangle. If I choose all three segments and go to measure lengths, sure enough, AB, AC, and BC all have the same length. Another thing we know about an equilateral triangle is that the measures of the three angles are all equal. In other words, it's equiangular as well. So I can use my marker tool to mark those angles. And if I measure all three of those, I see that they're all equal and they're all 60 degrees. And again, just to use the dynamic pieces of the software, if I change A or B, I'm changing the radius of both circles, which should then change AC and BC as well. And it does, of course. And the same would be true for changing A. But notice that if I change C, I can't change the size of the radius because C depends on segment AB. So it really doesn't change the lengths here. It's just free to move about space. So there it is. There's the famous equilateral triangle construction.